Everybody knows love is what makes the world go round. The act of loving someone is universal, but what if that someone hurts you? Does the world keep spinning? The short answer is logically no, but the long one is, well, yes, for some people. These few people live through this irony as their human experience, contrary to the common driving forces of other individuals' experiences. Let's examine these experiences through these examples. Mitski's song I Bet on Losing Dogs and George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984. Both of these texts examine the paradox of loving someone who hurts you. Let's delve into these two subjects, the yearn to surrender and comfort in harm. Mitski's song explores her internal conflict through her one-sided romantic relationship, illustrating her inconsistent desires as she experiences torment from her partner. Yet her sheer desperation and yearning somehow makes her want to be hurt more and more, all whilst wanting to escape the suffering of it all. Pretty complicated. On the other hand, George Orwell mirrors a World War II totalitarian government as the imagined world Airstrip 1, where a dictator Big Brother utilizes the political party to enforce limitations on human instincts and emotions, aiming to rewrite society as clockwork beings. Protagonist Winston Smith suffers from this, which motivates him to seek rebellion, no matter what, even if it hurts. Mitski depicts her personal experience as a self-destructive desire to submit her vulnerability to her non-reciprocating partner. Beginning her exploration with the entrance melody, the rawness of Mitski's voice attacks the listener up front and foremost with the weight of her vulnerability through the minimal instrumental arrangement and the elongated notes in the background vocals, also illustrating a soft atmosphere. The repetition of this statement emphasizes her yearning for reciprocation as she pleads for her baby to call her baby too. This later acts as a motive in the following verse. Mitski's voice is amplified as she introduces her self-destructive statements. She uses dog as a metaphor for her partner, suggesting that she pleads for reciprocation despite knowing the end, aka self-destruction. This mournful yet sadistic atmosphere introduces the paradox of her desire to be attached to a non-reciprocating partner, despite already knowing it is no use. Protagonist Winston Smith is impacted through an immense loneliness and suffocation in a world where being able to show vulnerability is forbidden. Orwell introduces this new character called O'Brien as an intellectual, to which Winston is fascinated by, as Winston himself acknowledges himself as superior and more aware than those around him. This quote represents the key aspect of O'Brien's characterization in being a higher position in knowledge and authority than Winston. In Part 3, Winston is motivated by the validation O'Brien brings to his expressions and values, as, for the first time he could remember, he had the feeling of being understood, which is really emphasized as, throughout the entirety of the novel, Winston is constantly seeking out someone who mirrors his values. And when O'Brien magically appears, saying he's from a rebellion group, a contrast is formed between his past failures and newborn success. Winston becomes instantly drawn to him. This motive later becomes paradoxical, as after O'Brien is revealed to actually be a spy and captures Winston, he is still his hope despite logically betraying him, which leads us into our next topic, comfort and harm. Both texts possess a similar key experience. Imagine being at the very height of torment from someone you love. You're suffering, but the intensity of your love is too strong. You only really seem to have them. So, amidst this pain, that person is actually the one you cling to for comfort. This situation is used as a metaphor in Mitski's song, which starts out as a crescendo comprised of the accumulation of hard drums, cymbals, chord tensions, and chromaticisms to curate her breaking point of pleading, as she clearly experiences internal breakdown, causing her suffering. Yet, after the pain wears off, in her eyes this person is still the one she wants, despite the suffering this relationship puts her through. Not only this, but her desperation somehow makes her yearn for this suffering, suggesting that she wants to have a comfort with the harm that her partner brings. Here we can see at the height of her vulnerability, the person is there, not sharing it, but looking down at her. Mitski uses this sensorial imagery to symbolize the emotional differences between Mitski and her partner. The repetition of "someone to watch me die" is the pure embodiment of her need to have someone, even if it means being in a moment of harm. Her loneliness distorts the inflictor as a comforting presence with her as she dies, meaning in a moment of suffering, she just needs someone to remain close with her at the height of her figurative, lonely death, ultimately highlighting her desperate desire to surrender her vulnerability, even if it means being with the one who is seemingly causing it. Mitsuki is aware of her irony, yet her incapability to stop it communicates the paradox of her inner conflict. As you can see, this is significantly intertwined with the motive of her yearn to surrender her vulnerability. In comparison, Winston's key experience is communicated more literally. Winston's constant loneliness emphasizes his paradoxical relationship with O'Brien. Winston's issues only really get soothed when he meets O'Brien, one who understands the exact reasons for his feelings of suffocation as well as his hatred for the party. Fueling Winston's feeling of love and oneness with the seemingly only man who understands Winston's views. However, this very man O'Brien is the sole reason for Winston's unending suffering in room 101, where Winston gets tortured for his crimes. Yet, Winston still finds himself to truly love him. Even withholding the literal dial to send him agony through his body, it ironically only seems to make Winston hold O'Brien closer. In fact, we can see this through the scene after Winston was tortured and O'Brien carried him back to his bed, and for a moment he clung to O'Brien like a baby, curiously comforted by the heavy arm round his shoulders, symbolizing how O'Brien truly seems to be his sanctuary. Winston has built up a facade of O'Brien in his mind, representing a key paradox as he seeks his own torture for comfort. In reality, the man that would lead him to his death is in fact not his protector, yet Winston is so passionately motivated to seek a mind like his own, even the pain he seems to feel sends him bliss, making him all the more grateful at O'Brien. Through the telling of Winston and Mitsuki's experiences, we can extract the motivations that drive people to commit paradoxes, and we now understand that loving someone who hurts you is really just a complex back and forth between desires and affirmations, which in the end isn't so rational.